Succubus in various legends and myths. Now that we have a bit of an idea of what a succubus does and what her main objective is, it's time to talk about the succubus in various legends and myths throughout history. Lilith. It would be impossible to do this, of course, without mentioning the Jewish mystical entity known as Lilith, the supposed first wife of Adam. Lilith appears mainly in the rabbinical text titled the Alphabet of Ben Sira, an anonymous text of the Middle Ages inspired by the Hellenistic work known as the Sirach, that talks a lot about masturbation, incest, and flatulence. But most people know of it because of its feature of the demoness Lilith. Lilith wasn't always a demon. The book tells us the familiar story of God creating man and woman, but instead of Eve, God creates Lilith, for whom he intended to be a companion to Adam because Adam was lonely. But the two began to fight, mostly on the account that Lilith refused to be submissive during sex. She declared that she would not lie beneath Adam but that she would only have sex with him if she got to go on top. The idea was that Lilith believed she was superior to Adam and that this ought to have been reflected in their sex. This fight would escalate to the point that Lilith left Adam and left the Garden of Eden, though not before she uttered God's name as an insult to both man and his creator. She then flew off, suggesting that she grew wings or had wings, leaving Adam to pray to God to tell him that Lilith had left him and the garden. God takes Adam's side. He sends 3 angels after Lilith with the intention of dragging her back, but by this point, Lilith has already made up her mind. The angels can intercept her in the middle above the sea and try to drown her when she could not be convinced to return. However, they soon realized that they were not powerful enough and that both sides were equally matched. While we don't get a detailed description regarding the transition of Lilith, the woman, to Lilith the demoness, Lilith does declare to the angels, "I was created only to cause sickness to infants. If the infant is male, I have dominion over him for 8 days after his birth, and if it's female, for 20 days. Bizarrely, this appears to be a random declaration by Lilith in an attempt to get the angels to leave her alone, but it also shapes her as more of an evil entity given her willingness to harm children. Lilith goes on to tell them that whenever she sees the names of the angels in the form of an amulet, she will have no power over that infant and that in exchange for her freedom, she will allow 100 of our children to die every day. The text then tells us that every day, 100 demons perish, these being the children of Lilith. Once more suggesting that Lilith is now a demon. It's thought that after Adam, Lilith then hooked up with the demon Samael and that by some interpretations, the pair of them become the original succubus and incubus, the mother and father of demons. Some interpretations of the Samael and Lilith story see Lilith as being one of the 4 succubi that Samael mated with and that Lilith makes up one of the 4 demons or succubus queens amongst a princess of evil, a demon who seduced Adam, and a demon who haunts the air itself. Dashagrat Bat Malat. It's understood in some variations of these tales that amongst these 4 succubus queens, Lilith is the only one who does not naturally conceive children through regular intercourse but goes along the route of a traditional succubus, in sperm snatching for her incubus Samael. Lilin. These children who are born from Lilith's meddling are thought to be referred to as Lilin or night spirits that attack men. Interestingly, in the Targum Shani, an Arabic translation of the Book of Esther, King Solomon is thought to have been entertained by the Lilin at some point who danced around him. In more Jewish law, it is thought that while the succubus takes the form of a beautiful woman, if one looks close enough, they will see the ugly deformities of their regular demonic form. These can include fangs, claws, tails and even wings, which may be problematic, unless you are into that kind of thing. Whilst the objective of the succubus appears to be founded in her desire to mother more children, there are some beliefs in folklore that fetishize the idea of the succubus and suggest that the succubus also seeks sexual gratification from her male victims. In this, the succubus rapes her male victim and may even force him to perform oral sex until she is sated. Sirens. The idea of the succubus was thought to be influenced by Greek mythology in the form of sirens. Sirens were believed to be a sort of hybrid between women and birds, sometimes depicted as having the body of a bird and the head of a woman. In later ideas, they were depicted as beautiful women whose voices and bodies were irresistible to men. This is a lot like the original idea of succubus from the Middle Ages, where the creature was thought to be gauzy and demonic before evolving into the sultry seductress that is more prominent today. Unlike the succubi, the sirens do not appear to desire the sperm of men, but instead, seek to charm men through their songs, lulling them to sleep before tearing them to pieces. Leonardo da Vinci once wrote in his notebooks, "The siren sings so sweetly as she lures the mariners to sleep, then she climbs upon the ships and kills the sleeping mariners." We see something similar take place in Greek mythology tales, most notably, the voyage of Odysseus, where Odysseus becomes curious as to what the song of the siren sounds like. One night, he had all his sailors plug their ears with beeswax and tied him to the mast of the ship. This would allow for them to be spared of the siren's song, but it would also entrap Odysseus so he could not be logged away by the spellbinding songs. When he heard the siren singing, he begged for his sailors to untie him, but they were unable to hear him, having already stuffed their ears with beeswax. Some ideas state that if a siren failed to lure a man away with their songs, they were fated to die. Unlike the siren, the succubus doesn't appear to ever harm her male victims. Though, the act of resisting a succubus is seldom ever documented, and so we don't know how the creature would react if one began to blow a rape whistle and tried fending it off.